From the Arctic to the Atlantic, there are key moments in the lives of all marine creatures. They face challenges to find enough to eat and to avoid being eaten. Drones are helping scientists to uncover new behaviors by revealing details never seen before.
Oh, wow, this is amazing, huh?
Worldwide, as their landscapes change, upheaval is forcing creatures into new relationships and into new roles. Many predators have had to adapt pioneering strategies. Changing landscapes demand changing responses from the animals that call them home.
Over the past few decades, the relationship between the two species has evolved in a surprising way.
Size no longer guarantees safety because 25-ton whales are under attack from pint-sized seagulls. But despite being ambushed by this aerial army, the giants are learning how to fight back. Every spring, the shallow bay of Golfo Nuevo in Patagonia welcomes a gathering of gentle giants on their return migration from Antarctica. Between 5,000 and 6,000 southern right whales assemble here for several months. They'll live on their fat reserves and focus all of their energy on mating, giving birth, and nurturing their newborn calves. Mother whales will lose up to 1/3 of their body weight while they're here. This interlude is critical for the endangered species, and at first glance, it seems they've chosen a safe place. Nothing is farther from the truth. This young mother, keeping close to her newborn, has just passed through the gates of hell. She stays close to the seabed, seemingly afraid to break the surface. But she has to breathe sooner or later. She begins to surface, changes her mind, then tries again. She knows that mortal danger is waiting for her calf and is circling above. 70,000 pairs of hungry Dominican gulls are spread across the bay. Incredibly, a bird weighing barely 2 pounds poses a serious threat to a 3,000-pound whale. The birds are so numerous that they have developed some opportunistic hunting techniques to compete. The gulls are always eager to profit from the efforts of others and will move like raiders. But until recently, their relationship with the whales was one of scavenging. For the past 20 years, zoologist Mariano Cerrone has seen a new dynamic emerge between the gulls and the whales. It's an aggressive behavior that is unknown in the rest of the world.
The gulls have always fed off dead whales. And off the little pieces of skin which come off when the whales jump out of the water. But over the past few decades, the relationship between the two species has evolved in a surprising way. The gulls suddenly understood that they didn't have to wait for the whale to die before feeding on it. Now it has become a parasitic relationship in which one species, the gull, feeds off the living tissue of another species, the whale.
After thousands of years of symbiotic coexistence, the gulls have become the enemies of the whales. The whales never had to contend with this type of danger, but now they suffer from painful wounds every day. The gulls have invented a terrible predatory technique, one where the small beast can kill the large one. And like all effective predators, the gulls focus their attacks on the weakest prey.
Among the whale population of the Valdees Peninsula, the group at greatest risk are the newborn whale calves. The gulls focus nearly all of their attacks on them, probably because their skin is softer and because they surface more frequently to breathe and are therefore more exposed. The attacks leave the whale calves with multiple injuries on their backs. This causes them to dehydrate and lose body temperature, and they become exhausted because they have no chance to rest. The time for suckling is also reduced. The calves need time to feed, but they're forced to spend less time suckling their mothers because they have to flee the constant attacks from the gulls.
In order to grow and stay healthy, a whale calf must drink around 30 gallons of milk every day, which takes about 4 hours. Rare footage shows Mariano how nursing takes place when there are no gulls. The mother does not have external teats, so she lies perfectly still on the surface, sending out little jets of pressurized milk for her calf. If the pair is interrupted too often during feeding, the calf may become malnourished and die.
In recent years, we have recorded mortality among whale calves in the bay higher than in all the other regions of the world put together. The record was in 2012, when 116 whale calves died.
With about 700 births here every year, a calf has 1 in 7 chance of dying during the first 2 months of its life. The predatory gulls are a major factor in their mortality.
The fact that the birds feed directly on a living whale is a new behavior and a very rapid change. This has not been observed in any other population in the world. It's only here on the Valdees Peninsula that one can observe these attacks by Dominican gulls on right whales with such frequency and intensity.
5,000 whales against 140,000 gulls. This means about 30 birds try to feed each day on a single whale. The harassment is relentless. The gull attacks, pecks. The whale dives. The bird waits patiently for the whale to resurface, and then it attacks again. The giant can stay submerged for 10 minutes at most. Then it has to breathe. This cruel game can last for hours.
These are 50-ton animals which are living a nightmare because gulls, which are thousands of times smaller than they are constantly pecking them to feed off their skin, not leaving them any time to rest or feed their young in a crucial stage of their life cycle: reproduction, birth, and suckling their young.
From birth, right whales have plaques of hard skin on their heads called callosities. Their distribution is unique to each whale and remains unchanged throughout their lives, like an identity card. Mariano and his team now use drones, which allows them to identify 30 times more whales than observations made from the cliffs.
It's really stable, despite this wind. You can see the whole head perfectly. The callosities, the right-hand side, the left. For the ID photo, this is an ideal viewpoint.
It's perfect. We can get some really clear shots.
After several weeks of observation, Mariano has verified that nearly all the newborns that survived gull attacks the previous year are back this year. Thanks to the rich food supply in Antarctica, they've returned weighing 10 times more. Although the birds continue to harass them, their lives are no longer in danger. Unfortunately, the findings aren't very encouraging because more than half the global population of southern right whales passes through this bay.
In the past 30 years, the right whale population in the Valdees Peninsula has grown by 6 or 7% per year. But this growth has slowed to around 1% currently, which is undoubtedly caused by the gull attacks, increasing mortality among newborns in this population.
Perhaps the whales can develop defense strategies to counter the terrorizing gulls. The whales have identified the danger, tried various techniques, and finally created some solutions. The giants had to adapt or die. The biologists who study the whales' new strategies know that the answers will be found at sea. Sebastian Romero has worked closely with Mariano for more than 20 years in the field.
The whales have changed their behavior over the years to avoid the attacks. To begin with, you could see the whales swam very quickly. They swam with their young for several hours to escape the gulls. And this behavior meant a huge loss of energy for them, which was no good. Then we saw that the whales learned to modify their position on the surface, using what we call the galleon position. They would arch their backs and only bring their heads and tails to the surface. This position stopped the gull pecking at their backs. But the young are incapable of making this movement, so they remain easy prey for the gulls.
The gulls soon realized that a shallow dive meant they could reach the whales' backs. So the whales needed another trick.
The galleon technique turned into a new behavior, which we call breathing at 45 degrees. This behavior can be done by both the mothers and their offspring. It involves simply bringing the head out to breathe while remaining at 45 degrees, leaving the rest of the body in the water. This is a very effective way of avoiding attacks by the gulls.
when the whales use the 45-degree technique, the hard calluses protect their heads. Hard as steel, the gulls' beaks can't pierce through them. Right whales are mostly solitary creatures, and the only predictable relationship is between mother and calf. Even that only lasts for a year. Young whales must learn avoidance tactics by watching and imitating their mothers. Mariano's drone footage reveals other unexpected discoveries.
Are you following?
Yes, it's a youngster, all white.
Incredible. The mother doesn't have any pigmentation either.
Yes, the mother's white too. That's very unusual.
Only 1 in 1,000 right whales is born white. This is the first time in 50 years that a white mother and calf have been seen here. Unfortunately, being white doesn't help a whale to avoid the birds. Lighter whales are more often attacked by the gulls because they can spot them from farther away. While white coloring isn't a genetic solution to a new environmental problem, the whales may have found that their natural sexual behaviors offer the best solution. Right whales mate freely, and there is no competition between males. If a female has recently given birth and not fertile, she simply rolls onto her back to show the males that there's no point insisting. Fertile females are surrounded by groups of males who try to woo her until she accepts the advances of one of them. A female will mate with dozens of males over one season. This has fueled a change in reproductive behavior among the right whales at Golfo Nuevo.
There are a lot of young mothers. It's a young and thriving population. Nevertheless, what we are increasingly observing is an interval between births of 2 years.
Mothers who lost their offspring are once again fertile during the same season?
Exactly. All of a sudden, they have shortened the period between 2 births to 1 year. That's a huge difference.
So it's a sign of high mortality.
Yes, or in any case, it's a sign that there's a problem, because the usual cycle is 3 years, and when it is cut to 2, it's because a female has lost her young.
There are no other options.
No.
Hopefully, the increased pace of birth is only a temporary response by the whales to the lethal harassment by the gulls.
In biological terms, it's an interesting conflictual situation.
The biologists hope that over time, widespread adoption of avoidance tactics by the whales will render the birds' attacks ineffective. Within a generation or two, the predatory behavior may disappear as quickly as it emerged.